Hey everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Songs. Did you miss me? Come on. I missed you guys, right? It's been a few days, right? I was in Washington, D.C. all week on business, taking care of things, and here it is Friday, what is today? The 19th. Taking care of business once again, getting back into the swing of things. Top 10 songs. I know you guys love them. We got a band here that I have a really long history with. I've loved them since I was a little kid, and I still dig them a hell of a lot. Paul McCartney Wings, all right? I've been talking about doing this one for a while, and just got to get down to it, right? So a lot of great songs, a lot of hits, a lot of really good deep album tracks. I kind of love it all. So my top 10 is kind of filled with some of the hits, some of the deeper cuts. I've got a really long list of honorable mentions, so let's kind of dive right into it, shall we? Coming at number 10 for me, off the last Paul McCartney Wings album that they ever did, okay, which was Back to the Egg. I'm a big fan of Back to the Egg because that came out, what was that, 79, I think it was? Was it 79 or 80, something like that? So I was like, 13, 14 years old, and I was, really big into them at the time. And I thought that was a great album. It's a really good rockin' album. It's got some good pop stuff on it. And then before you knew it, man, the band was done. Paul gets busted for pot and entering into Japan, getting set for their big tour, and the band never recovered from that. That was it. So a bummer for me as a young kid who was just so into the band, and then Paul just went and did his solo thing forever and ever and ever after that. So, but anyway, back to my number 10 pick from Back to the Egg, a really gritty hard rock tune called Old Siam, Sir. I always love the cool guitar riffs in that tune. It's just a really good snarling rocker. It's got some cool piano in it and a great McCartney vocal. Dig that song a lot. A lot of really good rockers on that album. Coming in at number 9, from Venus and Mars, which, the more I think about it, probably is my favorite Wings album. There's a couple really, really solid ones, right? That one, Band on the Run, Back to the Egg, probably the strongest in my mind, but I think, top to bottom, man, Venus and Mars is so strong, right? And my number 9 tune was a big hit for the band. Listen to what the man said. Oh, yes, indeed, we know. We won't find a way to go. I can't sing, but anyway, it's just such a great hook. An awesome pop tune. Really, really awesome pop tune. I always loved it a lot. Made a lot of money for the band. Coming in at number 9, we're going to stick on the Venus and Mars album, okay? I'm a comic book guy. Always have been, okay? If you haven't followed my channel, Comic Book Geezers, get right over there. Subscribe. Check it out. So obviously you know what the song is, right? Magneto and Titanium Man. 2 killer villains from Marvel Comics. And Paul McCartney Wings did a great job on that song. Really good, kind of like up-tempo rocker. Man, it's a really, really great tune. Coming in at number 7. We're going back to the Egg, all right? With the Rockestra Orchestra. How about So Glad to See You Here? Great tune. Great, really aggressive vocal from Paul. And you got Bonham and Kenny Jones and Townsend and Gilmore. God, who else was there? John Paul Jones. So many great, rock stars of the day took part in that kind of rockestra. There's like 2 tracks on the album. One is the Rockestra theme. The other one is So Glad to See You Here. Just this kind of big band rock orchestra that McCartney put together for those couple songs. I really like So Glad to See You Here. It's catchy too. Great tune. All right, number 6. How about we take a trip to the Speed of Sound album, right? Let 'em in. Someone's knocking at the door. Somebody's ringing the bell. Do me a favor. Open the door. Let 'em in. Ooh, yeah. I love that song. Sorry. I really dig the Paul pop tunes from that era, man. They're just, that stuff he was writing in the 70s, man. Just get you. Just get you. I'm a big Let 'em In fan. What else we got? How about number 5? We're going to stay at the Speed of Sound for another humongous hit for the band. And it just probably one of the most addicting pop songs I think ever written. It's probably like easily a top 10, maybe a top 5, Silly Love Songs. Just a great tune. Such a well-crafted pop song. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. A great McCartney vocal, lots of great backing vocals from Denny Lane and Linda. Great song. Great song. So the top 4, Here's where things get really, 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 really extra special, and these are mostly pretty hard rockin' tunes from the band, because I always, as much as I love the pop stuff from Wings, I love the rock tunes, right? So coming in at number 4, I lumped these two together because they go together. They segue into each other. When they played them live, they played one after the other. It's kind of like the intro and then the main song. Back to the Venus and Mars album, of course, you know what I'm talking about here. Venus and Mars / rock show. Rock show at the Concert Goodbow, man. You know, long hair, Madison Square. Come on. It's just great. And the Venus and Mars intro is just so cool with the little keyboard thing and Paul kind of whispering the vocals, man. It's just great. Great. And at the Wings Over America album, fantastic. What a, you know, kick-ass way to jumpstart that whole live album, right? Ugh, love it. All right. Let's go to Band on the Run. We haven't talked on the Band on the Run album, right? Yet. And, of course, you know there's going to be a couple in here. Coming in at number 3. And, again, number 3 or number 2, it's hard. They're not separated by much. But I love them both. They almost could be equal. But, you know, for the purposes of this here, got to pick one over the other, right? So, number 3, Jet. Right? I remember first being a young kid. So, what was that? Was that 74? When that first came out, 73? Something like that. You know, I was like, 6, 7 years old. And, or 7, 8 years old, right? If it was 74, I was 8 years old. But I remember hearing Jet on the radio, and I was like, oh, my God. Just what an addicting, just feel-good, up-tempo rock tune, man. I was like, holy cow, and I still love Jet, man. It's like one of those tunes you hear, and it just gets the chills going up and down your spine. And I just remember being a child, that kid, really young kid. This is like pre-Kiss, right, for me. So I guess when you really think about it, Paul McCartney Wings was probably like the first like rock band I really got into. And just Jet's just such a great song. And number 2, obviously you know what that is, the title track to Band on the Run. I mean, that's epic rock storytelling right there, it just doesn't get much better than Band on the Run. Some of you are probably saying, how is that not his number 1 pick? God, Jet and Band on the Run, rock show, 2, 3, and 4. What could he possibly have as his number 1 song? Okay. All right. So for all you folks who like to start, typing comments before you listen to the entire list, curious to see what you think is my number 1 song. I'll wait. Go ahead. Type away. Curious to see. Add them in. All right. What could it possibly be? What hasn't he mentioned? So many of the really big songs I've already mentioned. There's some other ones that I haven't. There's some great deep album cuts, right, that you're going to hear about in a minute from my honorable mentions. What could be that number 1 tune? What's Pardo got up his sleeve here? All right? You think you got it? I bet you don't. I bet you don't. Anyway, here we go. My number 1 Wings song of all time is a song that was never on a studio album. Okay? Further clues. It's probably their most rockin' tune ever. Okay, there's another clue. Think you know? It only ever appeared on the Wings Over America album. Think you know? It closed that triple, quadruple live album. The Mighty Soily. I remember being a kid, and again, right around the time that live album came out, I was starting to get into heavier things. So this is, the time of Kiss, and I was soon to get into Zeppelin and Purple and Sabbath and all that kind of stuff. And I remember like plopping on, going through all those LPs in the Wings Over America set and getting to the very end of it and thinking, holy cow, what is this Soily song? With these like kind of cranking wah-wah riffs and McCartney screaming up a storm and the horns, and what is this? It's not on any other album. I have all the other albums. Where'd this come from? It's a song they were kind of just working out, a little bit earlier, played it live a few times, and then kind of showcased it on that live album in all its glory, never to be seen or heard from again, but I've always totally dug it. The lyrics kind of don't make a hell of a lot of sense, but it's just a great, rambunctious rockin' tune that I think works on all levels. It's got, McCartney's killer bass grooves. And McCartney was one of the greatest bass players still that has ever lived. And I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves as far as his bass skills go, man. That guy could pump it out on the Rickenbacker, man. I'm telling you. But anyway, Soily, my favorite Wings song of all time. Just totally dig it. How many of you guys guessed it? I'm very curious to see. Anyway, how about some honorable mentions, right? So, the band didn't have a ton of albums, but they were all pretty jam-packed with some really good stuff. Some stronger than others. Some of them had a bunch of filler, especially the early ones. But I'm going to throw some like singles and oddities first, okay? So, Hi, Hi, Hi. Great tune. That almost made my top 10. I dig that a lot. Really great on the Over America album. The single Live and Let Die, right, from the movie. Okay, great song. These next two are not technically Wings songs, okay? They're more McCartney solo, right? Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey. Love that one a lot. Maybe I'm Amazed is obviously legendary. Probably his greatest, solo song. Okay, just McCartney solo. They played it on the Over America album, and it's incredible, and I probably think that's my favorite version of it. So I almost wanted to put that in my top 10, but since it's technically not a Wings song, I didn't. But it's a great one nonetheless. Mull of Kintyre. That did huge business over in Europe, in the UK. Man, it didn't sell shit here in the US, but man, that was an enormous song for the band over across the pond. How about later in the decade? Daytime, Nighttime Suffering. That's a cool tune. Good Night Tonight. Kind of like, little Latin rhythms, and that's a fun tune. I bought the big EP. It was like what'd you call this? Back in the days, God, was that 78, right? It had a couple singles on it. That was on there. I had that. Red Rose Speedway, My Love. It's a great tune. That close to my top 10 because that's another great kind of ballad. Get On the Right Thing. That's a really good rocker from that album. I like Get On the Right Thing a lot. Big Barn Bed, kind of silly but fun. How about the medley? Hold Me Tight, Lazy Dynamite, Hands of Love, right? And let's Power Cut, right? That whole big long medley. That's cool. From Band on the Run, Bluebird. Bluebird's gorgeous, right? Let Me Roll It. Like that a lot. Great on the live album. Mrs. Vanderbilt, great tune. Helen Wheels, that's a lot of fun, right? How about 1985? That was in my original top 10. That's a really, really cool, kind of proggy tune, right? Sort of, I guess. Really, really, that's like probably the unsung hero of that Band on the Run album. It's all the way at the end. Really good tune. Like I said, that was in my early list, and I was like, I really hated to nudge it out, but these things happen. All right, back to my favorite album, Venus and Mars. God, you can list every freaking song on there, right? You gave me the answer. That's a cool little quirky McCartney pop tune. It's kind of like a Beatles song. Letting Go. Letting Go is great. Another hard rocker. Spirits of Ancient Egypt, right? A great Denny Lane song. Again, fantastic on the Over America album. Another one that was great on the Over America album, Medicine Jar by Jimmy McCullough. It's like, he did a couple tunes for the band during his tenure, right? All drug related because he was a mess, that poor kid. What a great guitar talent, and died way too soon. And Medicine Jar, another great song. Call Me Back Again. And how about Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People? And man, that's like a heart-tugging song. I love the lyrics to that. It's just, that's like a great, like little kind of melancholy sing-along song, man. Dig it. From Wings at the Speed of Sound, which, ironically is not one of their stronger albums because I had a bunch of filler. That was the album where Paul decided to let everybody write and sing their own songs. And, to middling effect, obviously the Linda stuff is really weak. And, a couple of the other tracks are just kind of like not really there. But a couple standout ones, right? Which a couple I've already mentioned. Beware My Love, another great song. That sits just outside the periphery of my top 10. Time to Hide is another great song. Both of those are on the Wings Over America album, and fantastic. She's My Baby, cool little pop tune, right? And then Wino Junko, another Jimmy song, which, man, you read the lyrics to that, it's like he's basically talking about himself, I think, right? Crazy. From London Town. London Town, the band was kind of broke down a bit, and it was down to the trio of Paul and Linda and Denny. A pretty solid album, a little mellower than some of their other albums. Not a lot of really big hits, but some good tunes. London Town, the title track, is really nice. I like that a lot. Cafe at the Left Bank, I'm a big fan of. I've Had Enough. No. Kind of like a nice little rocker there. With a Little Luck. Almost made my top 10. I think With a Little Luck is a great song. Again, those just uncanny McCartney hooks, and the song just like makes perfect sense. It's paced wonderfully. The chorus is addicting. It's just such a great tune. And then another song that also was in my original top 10, because it's probably the band, the most prog rock thing that they ever did. And it's just such a cool, weird song. Morse Moose and the Grey Goose. Just a really, really interesting song. I really dig that a lot. And then how about Back to the Egg? Back to the Egg for me is filled with great tunes. And again, I could have put more on my top 10, but it's, there's just so much good stuff here. Getting Closer, which was the first single from the album. I like that a lot. I don't know how that song wasn't like, huge. I just don't think they marketed that album well, because that was a really good album. Spinning On, Don't Stop, getting back to the top. Because I got a lot of love for you. That's a really good, I think a lot of those tunes on that album are really brief. I think that was like a minute and a half long, something like that. Really cool guitar licks from Lawrence Juber. Really good album. Again and Again and Again. Really nice rocker from Denny Lane. Good Hammond organ on that. I like that a lot. Arrow Through Me is another song that's just such a it's kind of like a bluesy pop tune with just some great vocals, and the hook is outstanding. Again, another tune that I never understood how Arrow Through Me wasn't an enormous hit on that album. Don't get it. Rochester Theme, we've kind of already hit on, man. Great instrumental with the big orchestra. And then After the Ball, Million Miles. I like that a lot. So there you have it. Those are my honorable mentions from the great Paul McCartney Wings. Let's run down my top 10 one last time. Coming in at number 1, Soily, from the Wings Over America album. Number 2, Band on the Run, from the album of the same title. Jet, from Band on the Run. Number 3. Number 4, Venus and Mars / Rock Show, from Venus and Mars. Number 5, Silly Love Songs, from Wings at the Speed of Sound. Number 6, Let 'Em In, from Wings at the Speed of Sound. Number 7, So Glad to See You Here, from Back to the Egg. Number 8, Magneto and Titanium Man, from Venus and Mars. Number 9, Listen to What the Man Said, from Venus and Mars. And number 10, Old Siam Sir, from Back to the Egg. So how many did we get from Venus and Mars? So we got, let's see who won out on this one. So Venus and Mars got 1, 2, 3. Speed of Sound got 2. Back to the Egg got 2. Band on the Run got 2. And Wings Over America got 1. That's a nice little blending there, I think. So anyway, I hope you like that little trip down memory lane with some of the great tunes from Paul McCartney Wings, or at least my favorites anyway. Curious to hear your favorites. Put them in the comments and feedback down below. And while you're doing that, visit us on the web and check out some cool reviews and things at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook doing all sorts of daily polls and fun stuff. We're on Twitter. And, of course, we're here on YouTube often. What do we got coming up? Questions and answers. It'll either be today or sometime tomorrow with our new format. So I'm going to pull 10 questions from your submissions over the last week, and we'll tackle those. What else coming up? There's a lot of top 10 song things coming up. Steve Keeler and I are going to be getting together again fairly soon over the next 2 weeks or so. We've got some cool bands. What are we working on? Geez, I can't even remember anymore what we're working on. We got Overkill and Lynyrd Skynyrd, Aerosmith. Butch Jones and I are going to get together sometime soon. We're cooking Van Halen top 10 songs, Michael Schenker Group top 10 songs. Chris Allo and I, over the next 3-4 weeks, hopefully we'll get to that Iron Maiden history of. Okay, Nick Franco's coming back. We're going to do top 10 songs for Amorphous and I think Enslaved. I'm going to do an Opeth top 10 songs. I'm going to do a ZZ Top 10 songs real soon. Robin Trower top 10 songs is coming up. All sorts of great shit, right? It's never ending. Hopefully some new product shows coming up too. So, just stay tuned and there'll be more of all this great content. So hope you're liking it and digging it. Tell your friends. Make sure they subscribe. Come back often. Check out the playlist, folks. I'm telling you, I go to great lengths to make sure everything is kind of organized in those playlists so you can find things easier. I get questions every show. Pete, can you do a show on this? Pete, have you ever done this band, talked about this band? It's like, yes, I've covered it. Go check out the playlist. Before you start asking a million questions, go check out the playlist. I'm trying to keep on top of everything. If you want to know what's kind of coming up, listen to the end of a lot of these shows, or I do a weekly or bi-weekly kind of here's what's coming show, right? Here's what's on here's what's in the pipeline. Go watch those, because then you can kind of see what I'm working on in the coming weeks and months, all right? So till next time, take care, guys. I'll see you real soon. Have a good one.